The night was restless, the prairie winds sleeping through the creaks of the old barn like whispers of the dead. Lantern light saw it from a rusty hook, casting shadows that crawled along the splintered boards. The smell of dust and old hay clung heavy in the air. At the threshold stood the rancher, Clay Harlow, broad shoulders framed by the doorway, the brim of his hat shadowing his eyes. His hand held close to the warm grip of his colt, as if danger might leap from the dark itself. Across from him, near the center of the barn, Eliza May clutched a quilt-wrapped bundle to her chest. Her knuckles had gone white, fingers twisted tight in the fabric. Her face glistened with sweat, though the night was cool. White eyes locked on him, shimmering with fear and something else, desperation. "Please," she whispered, the word breaking like brittle glass. "Please, don't lift the cloth." The lantern flame flared as if to puncture her plea, throwing her trembling form into stark relief. The quilt twitched in her arms, whether from the draft or from something within, Clay couldn't say. He took a slow step forward, the wood creaking under his boot. Her breath caught sharply, tears welled up, sliding down her cheeks as she shook her head. The way she clung to that bundle made it seem less like cloth and more like a barrier between them and something unspeakable. Outside, coyotes howled in the distance, their cries carrying through the empty fields, as if the whole land knew what was hidden in that barn. Clay's jaw tightened. He wasn't the kind of man to be turned back by fear, his or anyone else's. Yet something in her eyes made him pause. For the first time in years, he felt the cold stir of uncertainty in his chest. "Would you like to expand this scene further with dialogue and Clay's internal thoughts, making it slower, more suspenseful, or keep it mostly cinematic?" And the night pressed hard against the barn walls, the kind of black silence that made every creak and whisper sound like it come from something alive. Clay sat hunched near the fire pit, his rifle leaning close at hand, but it wasn't bandits or wolves that kept his jaw tight. It was that damned table in the corner, sitting there like it had been waiting for him all along. The black cloth draped over it seemed heavier than it had any right to be, and no breeze slipped through the cracks in the wood. Clay swore his side shift, just slightly, as to something beneath it stirred. Mara appeared from the shadows, her face pale in the glow of the lantern. "You're thinking on it," she said, her voice soft but sharp as a blade. "Don't." Clay dragged his thumb across his jaw, the leather of his chair grinding as he stood. "If broken wild mustangs and footmen who tried to get them. I don't scare easy, miss. Whatever's under that rock, I'll see it." Her hands trembled as she stepped into his path. "It ain't about fear, it is about survival. The men before you, they all looked. And they're gone, every last one, dead or worse." The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. Clay's shadow loomed across the wall, tall and stubborn. He brushed past her, boots thudding on the warped floorboards. She caught his sleeve, pulling with desperate strength. "Please, Clay, for God's sake." He wrenched free, the weight of defiance in every movement. His hand gripped the edge of the black cloth, rough fingers curling into it. The fabric felt colder than it should, like dipping his hand into water drawn from a well at midnight. Behind him, Mara let out a choked cry. "Don't!" But Clay set his jaw, tight grinding, and in one swift motion he ripped the lantern hissed and sputtered as though it wanted to die out. For a long moment Clay just stared at the thing on the table, chest heaving, the black cloth still clutched in his fist. It wasn't treasure, wasn't gold, wasn't even some outlaw's hidden weapon. It was a mirror, it is from rough hewn from old wood, it is glass dark as a midnight pond. No dust clung to it, though the rest of the barn had been swallowed by years of neglect. It looked alive in its stillness, waiting. Clay leaned closer, expecting to see his own withered face. Instead, the reflection twisted, warped. A pale figure stared back at him, skin sleek and gray, lips bluish, eyes sunken like holes punched into a carcass. Around its neck coiled a thick rope, frayed and stained. The dead man's boots dangled, not standing on barn floor but swaying, as though he hung from some invisible gallows. Clay's throat closed, his fingers went numb, the cloth slipping from his grip. His breath rattled loud in his own ears. What in God's name? The reflection asleep as curled open in a silent gasp, the noose creaking in the glass. The carpus tilted its head to the side, eyes locked with his. Clay stumbled back, heart hammering, but the figure in the mirror followed his movement perfectly. It was him, not just some phantom, but himself, dead and broken. Behind him, Mara's sobs broke the silence. Now you see, S.H. whispered, her voice shredded by despair. Every man who takes this land is shown his end. Some tried to run, some tried to fight it, but the noose finds them, always. Above, a low groan stirred in the rafters. Clay turned, and his stomach dropped. Thor, swinging gently, was a length of rope tied into a perfect hangman's knot, sewing to no wind touched it. The lantern light flickered once more, and the mirror's glass rippled, as though eager to pull him in. Clay's skin went clammy, his eyes wide as if already staring into the grave. And in that suffocating darkness of the barn, the sound of rope tightening seemed to echo long before a noon